If I could have everybody's attention, I'd like to call the February 12th, 2015 work session of the Board of Education to order. And first, I'd like to welcome everybody that's here, and if we could all rise, Dr. Bearden is going to say the invocation, and then we'll pledge.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think I'm going to do what Darla did last month. Darla read a quote from Mother Teresa, and I also have something from Mother Teresa. I thought it was appropriate. She said, "I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot, but together we can do great things." At this time, if you'd join me, please, in a moment of silent reflection. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have before us an agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
A motion by Ann and a second by Tom. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, under presentation and discussion items, first we have the construction update with Tom. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Are you blowing away today?
That's why I'm inside right now, right? So we are pleased to report on the on-schedule progress of a dozen projects throughout the district, starting with the high schools. Fortunately, each of the three design teams have met their critical milestone deadline, which allowed us to move forward with a procurement phase of the construction managers. So the RFPs have been released on each of the three projects, and we're in process of pre-proposal meetings. You'll see us at site visits. So the activity is starting from that perspective. And then we've got a staggered due date at the end of this month and then the beginning of March for the CMs to respond to those. The other activity at the high schools, as you know, we're really about to transform those campuses with significant structures. The location of those big, massive structures are currently in a location where we have some modular units temporarily. So we just go through the prerequisite activity of relocating or adding modulars to clear the space for this summer's construction start of the new facilities. Lambert High School, we are on schedule with design development and construction drawings being ready for bid advertisement April 1st, again allowing us to start construction after the last day of school. And then High School 7, we're finalized with the architect contract negotiations, which we will forward to you for board approval. We're progressing with Georgia DOE the matching funding process and the site access of 3/16. That's March 2016, not March 16th next month. So 1 year to design, and then we start construction. So that's moving forward as planned. One of the other major projects that we're going to be undertaking that we really haven't talked about in the past is the whole life cycle aspect, not just the capital improvements, but life cycle. So for the North Forsyth Middle School, for the HVAC replacement and modification, you'll see those entries applying to the the elementary schools as well at Settlesbridge and Daves Creek, with the mechanical contractor bids due March 5th. Staying with the middle schools, South Forsyth Middle School is nearing its design completion at the end of March. The same applies to Riverwatch. And as we discussed last board meeting, in addition to the building itself, we're looking at the traffic loop around South Forsyth Middle School as a nice feature enhancement to that existing school.
So you're optimistic that'll be able to be done? Because that's beautiful, the design.
It certainly functionally works, and what we're always consistently, sensitive towards is the pricing that has not yet been received. And, I will say we are, unfortunately, just from a global sense, and it's not Forsyth schools, it's the metropolitan Atlanta region that's really experiencing some cost escalation related to construction. I mean, that's occurring as we get out of the Great Recession, and normal business activity. So we're just going to collaboratively need to be careful and mindful of budgets and dollars as we move through the entire process for all the schools. But that's certainly the hope, to incorporate that. And then for the new schools at Middle School 10, DeSanta and Brandywine, we have now cleared those sites, and site work is progressing on schedule, so we feel great about that. And that essentially completes the overview update. Any questions?
Before I turn Tom loose, I sent you an email, or a memo earlier this week, and he touched on the renovation projects at our high schools. Do you have any questions with Tom and Bill here specifically about that memo? We just want to be really clear. I mean, Tom touched on this. You know, the pricing is becoming a factor as things get better. Things are getting more expensive, and so that's an issue we're dealing with. And the other thing we really need to emphasize is, as this work starts in earnest, it's going to be very dirty and disruptive, and it's going to test a lot of people's patience. But at the end of the day, we are going to really enhance our facilities. But we're going to go through a couple of years where it's going to be very challenging. I think we need to keep that in mind.
For schools like North and Central and South, can we really get some visuals out there so people can see the end product sooner than later? Like, you know, when you see the trailer start to move and things like that, look at this is what's coming.
We're very careful not to put out an end product too fast, only because things change. And things change because of what Tom just touched on. As prices continue to go up, we might have to modify and tweak, and would hate to put an unrealistic expectation about here's the final product. Then you make some changes and people say, well, what happened to this? What happened to that? We certainly want to be mindful and keep people apprised of the progress we're making, and certainly want to be transparent through that process, but also don't want to put stuff out there that we don't end up delivering on because of things out of our control, if that makes sense.
So Jennifer has her hands full, and I'll just stare at it. Good luck with that, Jennifer.
Yeah, I would just like to say, if there's going to be any parental meetings or anything that we have that we're discussing all these changes, that the board is aware of that so that we can be in attendance.
Right. I did share that with Jennifer, and she shared that with the principals. If we have that, I think you'll see a lot of it through newsletters, through their councils. You know, they have various ways of communicating with stakeholders. But if they did invite the public to a general meeting, for example, at South High School, we would certainly let board members know so you could attend as well if you would like to.
And it might be a good idea to have an update, to offer something. Nobody may not come, but to offer something like that. And then if people start calling us about the inconvenience, we can say, well, we're going to have an update, not, maybe once or twice a year, just something like that when we get a little further along.
If I can just supplement, and I think Dr. Bearden articulated it extremely well. To the same time, I think we are 2 months away from answering everybody's question. I mean, we're very close. So we're going to answer it. It's just we don't want to do it prematurely, with all due respect.
Exactly. Great.
Appreciate the update.
All righty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and next we have Marty Bray with the technology update.
Push the boundaries of the technology. There we go.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it's magic.
Look at
Did it from a distance, huh?
It's magical.
That's right. And we're not asking you to pay any subscription service to Prezi or anything like that. Jennifer wanted me to do an update of where we are. It's coming up on the first year anniversary of you all hiring me, and my starting to work for the district. And so wanted to give you kind of an update on what I've been up to this year and what the technology department's been up to this year, and then share the vision that we've developed moving forward. So with that, I'm calling last year the year of listening. What I've been doing is I've been out gathering input from meeting with all the principals, APs, media specialists, and ITSs, as well as different folks from teaching and learning here in this area. We've also been doing weekly technology meetings, partly so that I can learn how things work here, so that I don't make a decision that messes things up, which is one of my great fears coming in because of the reputation coming in. I want to maintain that reputation moving forward. And then establish a department vision moving forward that takes the best of what we've been doing and extends it on into the next decades of the 21st century, if you will. Then finally, one of my favorite stories is the district I came from before. We had a budget of about $300,000 annually, and I get hired, and I think it was Candy that said, "Now we're passing a bond, and you get 17 million of it, or whatever." And I just so bond projects and upgrades, and we have been very busy in this area. So far, we've rolled out 12,000 desktops and laptops across the district. The goal was to get everything updated, and the reason for that is that we had been several years without any updates. XP was coming to an end, Microsoft's not supporting it anymore, and so we wanted to go ahead and get on that. But as a part of that, we really wanted to go ahead and roll out the virtual desktop infrastructure. And that first picture of that little girl is probably about how the staff feels after rolling out 12,000 desktops. And that next picture of that young fellow is probably how the staff feels after wrestling with VDI kind of thing. Moving forward, and the virtual desktop should be finished up by the end of the school year. So, and that will be all of the laptops in the carts replaced with thin clients. Wi-Fi updates we should have done at the end of the summer. The goal there is to increase coverage so that we eliminate as much as possible all the dead spots in schools. We know that there are dead spots out there, and we want to address all of that, and this should do that. That came out of the bond. Then the next thing will stretch out over the next couple of years, and these include projectors, upgrading all of those, printers, multimedia, and networking equipment. All of this is going to happen in conjunction with all of the building updates and the new buildings coming online and everything. Also, especially when it comes to the network upgrades, it means having to coordinate downtime within the district with different schools. And it really is getting to the point where we're running 24/7, not 24/7, but 7 days a week during the summers, over breaks, that kind of thing. And so scheduling those downtimes gets trickier and trickier. And so that's why that's extending out just a little bit. So that brings me to moving forward, the department vision, and what I see and what my team sees moving forward for the district. And we really are tying this to the learner profile. Dr. Bearden's made abundantly clear that that's the center of what we do. And as he said, that was a big draw for him. It was also a big draw for me. It aligns very well with what I think what our children should be getting in terms of their education moving forward. So it really has multiple parts. The first part is what I'm calling a learning commons. Developing a set of standards for a learning commons, and there's two parts to that. The first part is a virtual part, and what we're trying to do there is we're trying to bring all of the resources, all the digital resources, into one central space with one sign-on that's available 24/7. And those digital resources are not only the web-based resources we've been working with, but also are the software resources that we've been working with, and that comes through the virtualization, and that's kind of a next step for that. So if a child needs to work with SolidWorks at home, rather than or needs to work with SolidWorks, rather than having to work on that in a lab at school, they can go home and work on SolidWorks. Save that file into a cloud-based drive, come back to school and continue working on that kind of thing. So that enables what we're calling the flipped classroom, that kind of thing. So that's the first part of the Learning Commons. The second part of the Learning Commons is what I would call more of a brick and mortar aspect to the Learning Commons. And that is looking very closely at each of our media centers and continuing a journey that's kind of already been started, but really accelerating that journey towards making the media center a Learning Commons and the instructional hub of the school. so that the children that have been working at home have a place to come in. If they're on a schedule much like they would be at South, that would be a place that they could come in on those days when they're supposed to be doing synchronous or asynchronous learning at home. They can come in and have a place to work together and collaborate and that kind of thing. And so that's that notion of the learning commons in terms of the brick and mortar part of it. The next part of the vision is personalized and differentiated instruction. And that really touches on or focuses on seeking knowledge and understanding. Now, it touches on all other parts of the learner profile, but it really focuses in on that because it really touches instruction in a very direct way. We've gotten started with that with the It's Learning platform, with the personalization, differentiation engine, recommendation engine inside of that platform, and we've begun training on that. Moving forward, we really want to leverage that along with finding other tools that can allow us to more effectively collect, analyze, and report out data. One of the things that came out of our strategic talks was CCRPI data and being able to do more with figuring that out so that we can leverage the data that we're collecting to do a better job of meeting the needs of the students. So that's the other part of that. The next part of the vision is really fostering the 4 C's. And this is a concept that's been around before I got here, and I think should continue, much like the learner profile was here before we got here, and we want to continue that on. And the 4 C's really touch all of the areas of the learner profile. And they focus on critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. We've been working on that with all of the work that my predecessors were doing, Jill and Bailey, but we're continuing that with the I3 team. We are also continuing that with the work with STEM labs and the other different programs that are going on out in the school. And moving forward, we really want to look at, again, at that learning commons as in terms of maker spaces, having kids come in, being able to produce videos, being able to have access to 3D printers, those kinds of things moving forward to help foster that 4 C's moving on. So the next part of the department vision is relevant and innovative professional development. Again, something that was already very much in place before I got here, but something we want to continue. And it really touches on 4 of the 5 areas of the learner profile because we're touching what the teachers do in the classroom and trying to help them improve their practice, as well as meeting their immediate needs, not only in terms of anticipating providing traditional professional development, but just-in-time professional development as well. The I3 team has been working very hard on doing that, and I think they're going to continue to be a critical part of not only getting It's Learning moved out there and showing teachers how to use that, but also in terms of working with the other parts of the instructional technology team to deliver training as we move forward out of It's Learning as that becomes more stable and we move into other things. So that's the professional development piece. The final part of the vision is really a transformational model of blended learning. Dr. Bearden has said we're moving forward with It's Learning. That's a big part of this. But I think it's also larger than that. Of course, it touches on every part of the learner profile. But we've also worked up with the inclement weather days and the online learning days. We're making a lot of, I'm getting calls from a lot of people around the country about that and how that might work. And we're really leading the way on that, and also with the I3 team and others. I think we need to continue that. We've got a real jump in on that. It's a real cutting-edge thing, but it also makes a lot of sense in the context of what our kids are going to be expected to do moving forward into the future. Whether they go on to the university life or they go on into the work life, they're going to have to learn to work in an online environment, and this is a part of that. And when I say blended learning, I really want to emphasize that it's not just the online component, it's that intersection of face-to-face and online, and keeping the best of both worlds, not just getting rid of one because we've got this great shiny new tool, but we're having both working together and leveraging both out moving forward, and that's what we want to help do. So that's our departmental vision. Very quickly, because Jennifer told me I only had 10 minutes to do it. So do you all have any questions for me?
On your comments about the maker use labs that we have, and would you see the Learning Common, the media center that we are probably going to start calling Learning Commons now, that will be the extension of that everything will flow from that Learning Common, the videotaping, all of that's going to flow for that, which would change the stamp of our schools, so to speak, maybe?
Yeah, I would say that it becomes a tighter partnership between what's going on. We've already got some very top-notch video programs out at the high schools, for example. Many of our media centers are already doing daily broadcast. So extending that connection out so that what's going on in the media center more tightly integrates with those video programs is one example. It being a place where students can come at any time and work together in small group settings, much like they're expected to in much of the rest of the world now. And collaborative work is something that is not easy to do, and it takes practice to learn how to negotiate those lines of communication and how to work with other people, especially folks that come from different cultures. And we in Forsyth County really do have a wide variety of cultures here. And providing a place where those students can come together in relatively low-risk environments to learn how to do that before then they go out into the corporate world or into the university world to have to do that in a quote-unquote more for real kind of basis. So that's where
I kind of look at what you're doing, Marty. It's like the string that holds us all together.
Yes.
That technology is, as you said, it goes across the board in the learner profile in every category. What you just talked about is just like, I just see a string just pulling us all together, back together, focusing on the future, bringing in everything, but it's all, you're holding it together. That's about what I see you're doing.
Yes, and
that's a scary thought.
Yeah, no pressure. Well, and I agree with that because I don't want to sound like, yes, we're the group that holds everything together. I would say we're the flow underneath everything. We're the
You're one of the strands.
Well, certainly technology is a common denominator throughout our system. We all use it. Our students use it. Our faculty and staff, I mean, we all use it. And so, yeah, that support we have from his department is critically important. And especially as we move forward. And you touched on makerspace labs. We're really excited about that because we see incorporating that into our middle schools, giving those kids that real hands-on application experience, which will really prepare them for those opportunities that exist in our 5 high schools as well.
It just all ties in. It's just great to see all that.
And my question is, do you also own the strategy for like home connectedness, dealing with some of those issues that help us enable the strategy, right? So we really don't talk about that usually in our big forward-thinking strategy a lot of times, but we're very mindful that that's an issue that we have to work on constantly. We've seen a lot of grants given and other things that help us out in that area, but we own a strategy for that too. So.
Yes, and the Digital Equity Task Force is a major part of that.
Exactly.
And that is, some of you may have seen the AJC article about security and that kind of thing, and digital equity's a little bit like security and privacy in that you always be mindful of it and you always look for ways to provide that and continue moving that forward because there's no easy answer to that right now. But
Exactly.
I think we're in a good position with that. In fact, in large part because we are addressing that. We are saying that this is the world the kids are moving forward in, and if we just stick our heads in the sand, then we're doing them a huge disservice.
Right.
And so raising those expectations for those kids while at the same time providing them with the scaffold to stand on with that is critical. So, yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Are the teachers becoming more the ones that were not using it? It's Learning. Have you seen an increased use?
I'm seeing, yes, there's an increased use. Our shift has been from trying to foster adoption now to providing support, which is a very nice place to be in a lot of ways, because that takes a lot of load off of us, or significant load off of us, and really allows us to focus on what's going to work best for the teachers and that kind of thing, rather than trying to go out and sell it to them.
Got it.
Kind of thing.
I can tell you this, Ann, Fonda and Joey and I have just finished our tour of all third grades in Forsyth County, and we were asking that question to our students everywhere we went, and I can tell you it is absolutely being utilized now.
Good.
Yes. Some places, some schools are further along than others, there's no question about that, but are all of them being exposed to it now? I think the answer is absolutely yes.
Good.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of those areas, we heard loud and clear from the staff and teachers that quit changing things.
Right.
And this is one of those things we're going to stay with for a while.
Yes.
Let's land there, let's get there, strategic, saw it very clearly in that presentation, so
I gotta
thank you
say,
for that.
in different LSC meetings I've been at, the IT staff will be there, and they bring out their new laptops and stuff, and they are so excited about the functionality of them, but just the way that you're working with the department, they're very excited.
Good. It's a really good group to work with, and I feel very blessed to be in the position that I'm in. It's a fun job to have, so
Good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Miss Jennifer with the a strategic plan update. Well, let's just say that the
It's a game.
Forsyth County schools are the top 4 schools in the region in girls basketball. They're playing each other this weekend, but they will all 4 be the ones going to state.
What great.
And we know who Jennifer's rooting for.
That's okay.
You had asked for a strategic plan update, so this is going to be a short presentation that is really the work of all the people behind us and the work of the school. So I've just put it together in an organized fashion so you can see it all. So everything's on our website, underneath the strategic plan website. And we did things a little bit different with this strategic plan. We had 4 areas that we focused on. The first was the continuous improvement process, and last year was the first year that we did that. We aligned the school plans with the department plans, and then we collaborated around that. So this is the second year that we did that. And you'll be able to see all of the documents posted on this website. The schools turned in their plans in the fall. Teaching and Learning went through every single plan and provided feedback to the school, back to the school about the plan. And then we went over the plans as a cabinet, and then we developed our department plans around the school improvement plans and shared them collaboratively as a cabinet. So we did that last fall. So that is the continuous improvement process.
That's a reverse. It's not top down. It's coming from the bottom. That's good.
But it
Correct.
makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
And you've been very informed about what we're doing with the facilities plan. We worked on that last year and continue to work on it this year. And of course, you know what we're doing too with the leadership development and the performance management culture. And then the last piece I wanted to go over today with you is that we made live this week our data dashboard. And we modified this. It used to be called the R4 dashboard, but honestly, no one could remember what the 4 R's stood for. So we simplified it to data dashboard. And that was really the work of the cabinet members. They went through and they simplified the information online. We really looked at who our audience members were for the dashboard, and it was the parents, real estate agents, people moving into the area. And we removed 42 charts. We went in, we modified 19 charts, we added a few more. So this information's really zeroed down. We added a direct link to the strategic plan, a link to the continuous improvement process, link to CCRPI, because we didn't want to replicate the data there. The school data profiles that Teaching and Learning creates, we have a direct link to those, and then a contact us, which was not on the last dashboard. So in case they have any questions, they can directly contact us. And then you'll also see next week we'll have a search function, which was not in the last dashboard. So a search function will be added on the top. So we used to have 6 areas that you could go through. We narrowed that down and put it into 4 areas. And the departments have really been working on this and reviewing it. So we still, if you were to go in, you'll see there's some places that we still need to go in and do some editing. But we're excited that it's up. We're even going to put a link over on the left-hand side, so if people want to do screenshots, they'll be able to learn how to do screenshots based on what device they're using. Because a lot of times they want to be able to print off a page. And so this way they'll be able to do a screenshot. So we're excited about where the dashboard's going, and too, as well as the strategic plan. So next, what we'll have to do next year is that we'll have to start working on plans for the 2017 strategic plan to begin with. And at that same time, too, we need to start revisiting with district accreditation, because that comes up in 2017.
Good grief.
So that's kind of a...
Well, it seems like we just did that.
Are you sure?
Goodness.
Yeah, accreditation is every 5 years. We did it in 2012.
That's right.
And then our strategic plan runs out next year.
That's
So we'll have to
right. So we
finish
do
it by
3 years.
December to have something in place by 17.
Wow.
But I actually like it that the two will go together. And Advanced Ed has some really, of course, they modify their standards. There's less standards. They have some new evaluation tools. So we'll be able to pull those into the strategic planning for next time.
So good.
I will comment, if I may. I mean, I think it's good that we're going to revise the strategic plan. That's always important to do. But I certainly hope we leave the learner profile as is, because
Always.
I just think it's outstanding the way it is right now. It really is. And it really helps as I have opportunities to speak in the community, whether it be civic groups or parents, to be able to pull that document out and say, this is what we want for any child who graduates from one of our high schools. It really resonates with our public, whether you're a business leader, whether you're a parent. I don't see how anybody could look at those listed skills and say, that's not what they want. Right, exactly. And the other thing I like about it, nowhere in that document does it say anything about a test score. And I think that sends a very powerful message, too, is we do what's best for kids every single day. The assessment stuff will take care of itself. And so that it's very helpful as I go out and speak to the public, and the public likes it. They do.
Oh, really? It's the end in mind, Jeff, as you've always
Right.
said, and it is easy to
Right.
talk about that,
It
and
is.
I have often quoted about
Right.
that. And if you can produce the end product, then people know where we're going.
Exactly.
Makes our whole planning thing easier.
Right.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
All righty. Okay, a policy regulation update with Cindy.
Here comes some exciting stuff right here.
Absolutely. Good afternoon. I really have your policy JBC4, which is the same policy. We needed to update some words, and so it really is typographical. We changed end of course test throughout the policy to end of course, EOCs, made that change everywhere, and cleaned up one little place where it's about accreditation. We do have some questions at times from schools that are in a membership of accredited things and schools and websites and that kind of thing, but they're not accredited with certain association and those kind of things. So we've got a little bit of a statement there to help us clarify that, and otherwise it's the same thing. So if you would, we need to clean this up and make it current, and we need to lay it on the table for 30 days and then have you vote on it and make it official.
Okay.
Any
Anybody
questions?
have any questions?
No.
Exciting.
Thanks, Cindy.
Okay. Policy, charter schools, IBB, policy revision, JBCD with Mr. Perkle. This sounds exciting, too.
More excitement. The first one is a new policy, but it's not new information. Actually, we have the same information in a charter school procedure, but the state board is now requiring that all the systems actually have, all school systems have a charter school policy. So they're in, what they had asked us to do, or what they their suggestion for us was to just take what we already had in procedure and make it a policy. So we pretty much just, this mirrors what their example policy should look like, and it actually is everything that we had in a procedure. But it just is what we do with charter school petitions, and it has has the timeline as to when a startup charter would have to send a letter of intent to you to us as a local system and or the State Department, and when the petitions are due and all of those sorts of things. We all of the guidelines for charter school petitioners can be found at that link. I did inquire about, do we actually need to put all that information in a procedure, and the answer was no. Why would you want to do that when they actually can just go to the rule itself, and that's where most systems are just sending their charter petitioners back to. So this really is not new information, but it's a new policy, because we're required to now have a policy. So we'll put this out for public input and then bring it back in 30 days for you all to vote on the policy. And
You may want to go back and check the
IBB.
link because it's broke.
I did check. Is it not working now?
Yeah, it's not working again.
Okay, I'll double check it.
Maybe
It
move
worked
it around.
the other day, but. All right, any other questions about that?
And you didn't put a poundage on that petition? Because they usually come in at about 10 to 12 pounds.
It's about, yeah, it's usually anywhere from 10 to 12 pounds, you're right.
Yep, page not found.
All right,
All righty.
I have one more.
It says our site has changed.
This is an existing policy we've had for some time. It's policy JBCD, which is transfer and withdrawals, and there's a lot of parts to this policy, but there's one, just the section that I'm referring to is the, excuse me, it's the section on student transfers in district, which is known as our out-of-district section. We needed to change a couple of things to, based on some things that we changed with practice with our principals, and one is in the second item here is that we're deleting both principles where it says permission for a child to attend a school outside the attendance district will be granted when both principals, it's no longer both principals, but it's the admitting school principal and the superintendent or designee have signed. We do notify the releasing principal every time through email. That's part of the procedure that we go through when we actually process the information. But only the admitting school principal has to sign that, and so we took that out. Also down on that paragraph where it says not eligible to receive out of district, we needed to change that to say, it was more appropriate to say approve out of district. That's where it says a list of elementary, middle, and high schools that are at or above capacity. It was reading not eligible to receive. They actually did receive it, and they actually denied it. So we needed to change that to say that they weren't able to approve it. One of the things that you do not see here that I actually want to add to that, to the end of this paragraph right above number 3, that I think will make things a little bit clearer, is that so where it says next level and not excluding siblings, right above number 3, I'd like to add a sentence there that says expectations may be made as listed below. Because that's where it goes in to say.
Exceptions, not expectations.
I'm sorry, not expectations, I said exceptions. I misread that. Yeah, exceptions may be made as listed below, because that's where it talks about, for example, a high school may approve an out-of-district request for a specific program if it's unique to that school and there's space available. And plus it talks about employees' children and some other hardship cases that we do have from time to time. It could be a medical thing, it could be a student issue, kind of hardship issue. So.
Well, thank you for adding that 3A that we talked about on our
Yes.
retreat. That was.
And we did add that under 3As to specifically say if space is available. And then on 3D, we again, that's what I said earlier, we took out both principals and just said stated the admitting school principal, because there's this principal that has to sign the form. And I think those were all the changes so far. We'll put that out for public review and to be out on the table for 30 days and then come back next month if there are no additional changes and have you to approve the revisions to that policy.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joey.
Okay, next, future agenda items. Anybody, do you want to do a legislative update from what y'all?
Yeah, we'll do a legislative update.
Put that on there
For next,
Last meeting, we talked about some other topics, but there was a meeting in March. Isn't there a meeting where we have a couple of us that aren't?
The first one, the
Is
work
first
session.
The
Work
work session
session,
or the
yeah.
public?
work session.
It's the work session. Do you want to do it next week, or you want to wait till March?
Oh, that's fine, we could do it next week, that's the other topics we were talking about, but we'll come back to those.
I mean, I just thought y'all might want to talk about.
Yeah, I think doing it every month is good, just for us to keep up.
There's other things
Sure.
we're talking about adding to the agenda, but we want to make sure everybody's here that wants to hear that.
Okay, so nothing, that's all we need? Okay, under action, we have Dr. Salome with a math resolution.
This one is sometimes exciting
This
when we're
is, I was
talking about
thinking this
math.
one is exciting. I like
Be it resolved, we will do math.
to get a.
Absolutely.
When we're talking about math, those of you who like it. If you remember, I just want to hit the high points for you. If you remember, back in December, Dr. Bearden asked the Teaching and Learning Department to go out to our schools and ask, what do they prefer? Did they want discrete math instruction, traditional, whichever word you want to use, or integrated? And as you know, there was a lot of discussion about it because of the fact that the State Board of Education was trying to make a decision about what we would do, and so we asked our teachers, what did they want? So we came to Dr. Bearden with a math position statement after seeking input from all the teachers in the system, and they made the recommendation that we support the traditional pathway for secondary mathematics, and they had 4 reasons for that. High-quality resources are available that align to the traditional pathway. When we focus on one pathway versus going from one to the other, as you know, math has been pretty volatile over the last few years, then the teachers are able to focus on professional learning related to best practices. Traditional pathway is also the most common across the nation and in high schools and colleges. And the other thing is that when we stick with one pathway, traditional, it reduces gaps and overlaps of instruction, as well as helps us make accurate conversions of credit when we have transfer students from outside the system in the state. So we took all of those and we made fashioned a resolution for you all, and we do want for you to know that we do appreciate your input, and we appreciate it, assuming that you adopt this resolution and seeking their input. And this would be a resolution of the Forsyth County Board of Education to recommend that the Georgia Department of Education require all districts to exclusively offer the traditional/discrete pathway for all students entering high school beginning with this coming year, 2015-16. And the whereas statements are all fashioned after the math position statement that you all know about. So, any questions?
Cindy, if you don't mind, scroll back up to the top again, please. Yeah, I just want to emphasize that this statement does say requires all districts to exclusively offer the traditional discrete pathway. I think that's very important to point out, and we were very purposeful in putting that in the resolution, because the talk now is that the state board is considering giving systems a choice.
Right.
Typically, I would be all about choice, but this is one instance where we believe that it needs to be consistent statewide. Again, we live in a very transient society. We get kids transfer into our school system all the time, and if they're being taught one way and we're teaching it another way, it puts kids at a serious disadvantage. It creates major challenges for our faculty and staff. And so if you approve of this resolution tonight, we will certainly send it to the State Board of Education, but I did want to emphasize that we are asking that it be all the same.
Well, I think the crucial component of this is that if you had a child that wanted that extra challenge, that is available, even in the traditional model.
Yes.
Because, especially here, that you have the background and the resources through technology and other resources to make that available to them. And I think that if that's the way we are heading in the state of Georgia, which it looks like we are, there is no reason to have 2 choices, and it just needs to be one.
This has nothing to do with rigor. These courses will certainly be just as rigorous,
Absolutely.
if actually probably more so than what we used to think of as this traditional pathway.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I just hope they make that right choice.
With that, I would recommend approval of the math resolution as presented.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kristin and a second by Nancy. Any more discussion or questions?
So will there be how will we handle the kids that are already in the middle of it? We talked a little bit about that. Will we just handle them
They will continue on. We will be offering, it will be phased in. That's what we're
Phased in.
recommending, that this begin with this coming school year as they enter ninth
For the
grade.
freshmen that are
Yes.
coming in. Okay.
It'll be phased in.
Great.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
Okay, now we have intergovernmental agreement with Mr. Dan Jones.
Save the excitement for last.
Right.
For some of us, yes.
Okay, we have an intergovernmental agreement tonight to bring to you between the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners and the Board of Education regarding the Lambert upper football, or practice field, not football, but it's highlighted here in yellow. You see that field. And what this does is the county has adopted this, and they have agreed to install artificial turf on this field for a price not to exceed $495,000. And for that amount of money to install the turf, they get to use the field for 10 years. January through June, they can use it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. July through December, again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6:30 to 10, and then all day Saturday and Sunday. The school board and the county may agree to some variations in the days and the times, and the principal of the school and the director of Forsyth County Parks and Rec will come up with any variances that they have. The school board, once this is approved by y'all, we will go into the bid process, and the installation of the turf should be no later than July of 2015. The county commission will reimburse us within 30 days after everything's installed. We will be responsible for installing the outdoor lighting of the field within 6 months after the county approves our lighting plan. Excuse me, and we'll have to submit that to them within 3 months of the execution of this plan.
Dan, do you want to clarify when you say we, there's the cost of the lights is not at all from the Board of Education?
Right, I was going to get to that.
Thank you.
But I'll get to that point right now. The county commissioners are putting up the money to put the turf on the field, and the boosters at Lambert High School are raising the money to put the lighting on. So we are not putting any of our money into this, the general fund money. It's all the county and the schools. They're raising the money to do that.
But now this says on number 5, the school board shall be responsible for installation of outdoor lighting.
Right, we will be responsible for getting it installed. We're not paying for it. It'll be part of the bid process. We'll handle that and bid it out. The Booster Club has already put some money into an account for the lighting, and that money is available.
So we know it's there and
Yes,
ready to
ma'am.
go.
We would not move forward if it wasn't.
They
And
have,
then-
they have a very detailed process internally, and they just can't get to that next step B until they show Dan they got the money.
Right, and they have presented a bank account with the money in it.
And then we own and maintain the lights after that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, and the turf.
And then at the end of the 10 years, or at a time when there's a decision that the turf has reached the end of its life cycle, we'll get with the county director of Parks and Recs and the Lambert principal, and a decision will be made whether or not the turf needs to be replaced. And if the county agrees to replace the turf and pay for the replacement, then this will extend this agreement for another 10 years. I think that's the highlights of this. Let me emphasize again, we're not putting any of our general fund monies into this. It's a school project basically with the county. Any questions that I can answer? The county commissioners have approved this, so we're bringing it to y'all tonight for your consideration.
Do you still plan on being here at the end of the 20-year contract? Okay, just check.
So you're not in this agreement, okay.
This has been a lot of back and forth between our attorneys and their attorneys, working out the details.
Correct.
Covering this, so thank you and facility staff for all your work on this. making sure that we were covered.
Now, the exhibit they put on here, does that take into account the widening of Old Atlanta? Are we being proactive enough to make sure the right-of-way is large enough to take into account those future construction projects on that road?
Well, it's the same field. I mean, there is
I
just.
just didn't want it impeding on our field and us having to move things like lights.
That's
thought
something we'd have to ask the
We don't know.
facilities.
But
people.
fortunately, if you look at the property there on the other side of Old Atlanta
Here
Road,
comes the answer.
I figured we might have them in the
the
room.
county does own the property across the street, so
Yeah.
they have their own right of way, so if they needed to, they could shift.
I just didn't know which way it's coming.
The reason that we put the extended period on there for getting the lights installed was we felt like there might be some work that would need to be done. And if you'll notice, it says, once the lighting plan is approved by the county. So we're going to incorporate all that into it so that.
That'll be a part of that process.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill?
Thanks, Bill. The only thing I would add is, you know, this was an expressed need that came from that community, both the need for Lambert High School and also a need by the county commissioners. You know, I think this is a unique opportunity for the two entities to work together, to see it as a win-win. Our students at Lambert High School are going to benefit. The Park and Recs is going to benefit. And I'd also say, I don't want to speak on behalf of the county commissioners, but a couple of us attended that meeting, and they made it very clear if we had other needs that came up in other parts of our county, they would consider the same joint venture. And I think that's important to keep in mind. If we do have a need and the Park and Recs Department has a need, we will look at other ways where we can work together. And I think it's a benefit not only to our community, our kids, but also to our taxpayers. And so with that, I would recommend approval of the intergovernmental agreement. And just so for the audience, the county commissioners already approved on their end. If the board approves tonight, we will have an agreement that we will both sign.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So,
A motion by Ann.
second.
And a second by Kristin. Any discussion? The only reservation I have is giving up a football field practice at 6 o'clock, but, you know, the football coach just don't want to call me. Don't call me, so I don't want to practice later.
That surfaced in our conversations, and again, Gary's not here tonight, but I will say, you know, Gary came back to us, talked with his staff, and they felt like this would fit the needs of that school for the foreseeable future, and we took that as, okay, you're the
Yeah, I mean, that's
principal
what I do
Yeah,
too, but I'm
right.
just saying,
But that
when
did-
he's not there,
Right.
and there's a new football coach,
And we,
but.
exactly, and we brought that up, and everybody understands that.
And they give themselves a buffer till 6:30. They're already off the fields by 6,
Yeah.
and but they're not able to use it as much. This is actually going to give them, because there'll be turf with the bad weather, they'll be able to use it more often. Right now, it's the grass gets used so much, it's worn out that they cannot use it because it either has to recoup or they were about to have to invest money to regrass it. So this is actually going to increase their time that they are using it now.
But it's a good point. We brought it up too.
Really
Yeah.
good, yeah.
So, any more discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
Before we go into executive session, can I add one more thing, please?
Yes, you may.
Just wanted to recognize, I know everybody knows Sandy Abbott, the administrative assistant for the board and for me. Her father passed away earlier this week, and want to make sure we keep her and her family in our thoughts and prayers, and also want to thank Susie for pinch hitting this week. She's not only been doing her job, but been doing Sandy's as well, and has really helped us out, so thank you to you.
All righty, do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. So moved.
A motion by Nancy and
Second.
second by Tom, all in favor? Unanimous.